Up next, it's a special edition of The Pilot's Advisor, where Ryan Fleming was recently a guest on the podcast Wealth Warehouse, your go-to guide for infinite banking, which is also hosted by two fellow pilots. The episode tackles financial strategies tailored specifically for pilots, covering everything from best practices in managing a pilot's 401k to the principles of infinite banking. The discussion goes a little bit further, exploring the often overlooked aspects of insurance policies, the benefits of opening policies for children, and how pilots can ensure access to capital throughout their careers. We'll link to the Wealth Warehouse podcast in this episode's description so you can check out more of their episodes. In the meantime, let's get to today's episode. Here's Ryan with the hosts of Wealth Warehouse, David, the founder and CEO of Max Performance Financial, and Paul, an active duty U.S. Army officer.
Hey, Ryan, welcome to the show, man. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm an avid listener of the Wealth Warehouse, so I feel extremely honored to be as a guest here, talking to two celebrities right now.
Yeah, yeah, right. Pseudo celebrities. I've been a guest on Ryan's podcast. He's got a podcast called The Pilot's Advisor. So if you're, this episode, anybody listening will get something from it. But I think pilots especially will really benefit from this episode because that's who all three of us are, and that's actually Ryan's clientele. So Ryan, why don't you tell us really, what do you do? How long have you been doing it? And really, who do you work with?
So I'm a pilot myself, but I've been a financial advisor since '08. So I've been doing it for a long time. But the way my business developed was I eventually realized that, whether it was people I flew with in the military or at the airlines, those are the people that were my natural niche, or the people that I wanted to help. And so it kind of just happened that way. The beauty of it is I know the 401ks of all the companies. I live the lifestyle. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. I know about 80 to 90% of everything I need to know just by knowing somebody's background or what airline they fly at. So we can really focus on those deep details to have that full financial picture to help them protect their families. And I think that that's another piece of all the things that we do that brought me to you guys.
That's great. And I think I never knew this until you and I started talking about over a year ago. You and I linked up, but I never knew this. And there may be some pilots, I don't know, you can tell me if I'm wrong. There may be some mainline pilots who also don't know that their 401k does not have to be managed by the custodian that the company offers them.
Yeah, so this is something that's a little bit different that not every pilot knows. And I help tons of pilots actually with their 401k and help, manage those assets with a company called Howard Capital. And the way to think about this is when your airline builds out a 401k plan, if the custodian, say Fidelity, they go in and then they pick 10 or 15 different mutual funds. And the average pilot goes out there and selects a few of those, or selects, God forbid, a target date fund. And then they just let their money just sit there and they don't know anything about their life, and they get mediocre returns. Well, inside those plans, there's actually something called a brokerage link where you can invest in anything on Fidelity's platform. For Charles Schwab, it's called a PCRA, a personal choice retirement account. So that'd be for Southwest pilots, United pilots, those that are with Charles Schwab. But what it allows you to do is invest on anything on their platform. So you can actually engineer a portfolio that's going to be much better than something that you would have inside the 401k.
Nice, because it only makes sense when you limit your options to just a handful of options. You're probably going to get suboptimal results.
Well, the way I like to think of it is I'm playing with a full deck of cards and they're not. And what I'll do is I'll actually analyze a pilot's portfolio, tell them some opportunities that we see or what's out there, and then go back and actually pull historical data for their historic return. So however long they've been at the airline, we can go back and pull, here's what you did in 15, 16, 2017. Well, guess what? Here's what we did. And I like to call it the IQ test at that point, because it's just numbers, Some people pass, some don't, but it's a pretty good IQ test to say, well, which one of these do you want? And if there is a better way, why would you not want to go down that path and create a better lifestyle for yourself? And as I call it, landing safely in retirement.
Nice. So you talk about landing safe, and you use that term a lot. Well, let me go back I guess, a little over a year ago to when you and I reconnected, because we were at the academy together. You were a couple years ahead of me. I was actually on the football team, but I was on the meat squad. You were on the starting lineup. So I played wide receiver as well for a little bit. And then problem was I couldn't catch too well.
If you'd only had bigger hands.
If only. Yeah, that helps. That helps. Ryan's like 6'5", so that's definitely beneficial in that position. But you kind of followed or saw me on LinkedIn because I was doing a lot of posting about infinite banking, and you had actually already been on board with infinite banking before you even reached out to me. So it's not something that I exposed to you. You were already about it, and you wanted to bring this to your clients. So why? And this is going to shock everybody, because I've never met somebody else who has a partnership with a financial advisor who believes in infinite banking and advises their own clients that they should get involved in infinite banking and put some of their capital under their control, somewhere that creates that certainty and guarantees and all that. But what appealed to infinite banking to you? Because you started doing it yourself personally. You do it, right? So why do you do it?
Well, there's a ton of different reasons. I can start going through them, but number one, when we start looking at retirement, everybody, like most pilots, know they have to save for retirement, but they don't understand how the distribution phase works at all. Okay. And one of the biggest threats to your retirement assets is sequence of returns risk. Once you're in retirement and you're pulling income off of that portfolio, and you guys talk about it all the time, when it's in the market, it could lose 20%. Okay. And you don't want to be pulling off that when the market's down 20%. Well, I think about infinite banking, not only for all the other tools, but it's a hedge against sequence of returns risk. It's guaranteed money. And I think 2022 was a great year for us to go, hey, even if you were a conservative investor with interest rates rising like they were, the bond prices were dying. They were going down. So even as a conservative investor, you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. But guess what? With overfunded whole life, it never goes down. That's your fixed income portion or your safe money asset of your portfolio. And I tell my clients, I'd like them to have 25, 30% of all their assets in a safe money market, something like that. Now, the other aspect of it that I find that I think is so beneficial, the older we get, and unfortunately we're all getting a little older here, you start thinking about legacy planning. And I don't think there's any better way to protect your family, have a legacy, leverage your money than using overfunded whole life, IBC. And one of the biggest holes I see in most pilots' portfolios is protecting their family. If something happens to them, their family is going to be in a really bad spot and they don't even realize it. Or when they retire from that airline, all that insurance they thought they had is gone. So infinite banking allows us to kill so many birds with one stone, because it does so many different things. And I think, as I tell most of my clients, I know this is in your best interest, and no different than you guys say, hey, you have to discover infinite banking. I know it's in their best interest. I want to lead them to that trough like you lead a horse, but I can't make them drink. At that point, they need to discover the power of this themselves. And that's where I have you guys. I was a listener on your show. I actually listened to you guys. I discovered you guys as I continued to educate myself on infinite banking. And then at some point it was like, you know what? This works so much better when I have my clients that are pilots talking to other pilots or other former military, because we can speak to each other. We can relate. And at that point in time, knowing that Dave was a Air Force Academy graduate, I reached out to him and I said, hey, here's what I have. I want what's in the best interest of my clients. Can you help? And of course, that's how I got to meet Paul and meet Dave, and here we are.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, you mentioned, the pilots that you work with, they have like a group life insurance policy, I suppose, much like SGLI, like we have in the military. So that vanishes when they leave the airline, they retire at age 65 or whatever. Typically, what do you see that amount? What is that insurance amount that they carry? Is it, 2x their salary, 5x their salary? What is the typical group policy there?
It depends on the airline, and it's renegotiated a lot of times in new contracts. So there's some airlines out there that don't have any. Okay, there's others like Delta that's over, I think it's 1.1 million now. But where pilots get caught with their pants down is exactly what we're talking about. Is you don't want to go out and try to get insured when you're 65,
no,
or even over 60. You don't want to do that, right? Well, guess what? That group policy is going to go away, and if you plan for it, you can be way ahead of the game. The other aspect, and I try to educate those airlines that still have pensions. So we're talking about a FedEx pilot or a UPS pilot. So many people are geared towards taking the survivor benefit, that 50% survivor benefit of that pension should something happen. Well, guess what? If you leverage and use it overfunded whole life to do that, you have a much, much better benefit. And it's just numbers. It's just math. It takes a little bit of planning. And that's another reason why this concept and what you guys do is so powerful.
Yeah, sticking on that topic of just the group term life insurance, I found working with predominantly pilots over the last year and a half is most of them are woefully underinsured. There's no such thing as being overinsured because the company will not let you be overinsured, but you can definitely be underinsured, and most are. When you're talking a pilot makes good money on average, call it $200,000 to $300,000 a year if you've been flying for so many years. They have about enough insurance for their family to continue their standard of living for maybe 4 or 5 years tops. That's it. Like, that's unacceptable, and that's irresponsible, and you're hanging your family out to dry.
Yeah.
I actually get asked this question quite a lot. So let's say they're making $300,000 a year, and that's the lifestyle that your family is, used to. Well, guess what? If something happens to you, and I get it. Pilots think that they're all type A. They're never going to die. Nothing bad can happen. I get that. But you have $1 million worth of insurance, and if we look at that at a safe withdrawal rate, okay, what does that give you per year? At a 4% safe withdrawal rate, you're looking at somewhere between 40 and 50 grand a year. And we haven't been talking about taxes now. Do you think your family's going to be in a really bad spot if you just have that company life insurance policy? And once I start talking like that, it's like, yeah, do you love your family?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're drastically underinsured in most cases.
Yeah.
We hear $1 million, and to a lot of people, we're still in these, we're all 80s children, growing up in the 80s where $1 million was a lot of money. But it's, inflation is what it is. We've printed a lot of money the last several years, and $1 million, like you said, I mean, it's at a 4% withdrawal rate. You can't go from 300 to 40 grand a year and live well, right?
Yeah.
So it's when you tell them, hey, take your income. If you're a 45-year-old man, take your current income and multiply it times 20. That's your death benefit goal. And it can be a combination of term and whole life. That's fine. We need some time for the whole life to catch up, but my goodness. And I'm glad you're saying that to them, Ryan, because it's so important, because like Dave said earlier, everybody is underinsured. They all are.
Yeah.
The other factor that it brings to the table, though, we always talk about that 4% safe withdrawal rate. If you have overfunded whole life and you have these big policies in place, your safe withdrawal rate's more like 9%. I call putting that your retirement, on overdrive. That's a totally different lifestyle.
Yeah, and a tax-free lifestyle, because that income you're pulling from that life insurance death benefit is not taxable. So it's
tax never money is a good thing.
Tax never money. I like that term. So we talk a lot about. So you focus a lot about the retirement aspect of this, which is great, because we've spoken. You sent a lot of your clients over to me who've become clients, and a lot of them are in their mid to late 50s, and they're just now thinking about retirement. One, because there's that mandatory retirement age, but a lot of them don't want to fly to 65 years old. A lot of them are thinking, 60, 61, like, I'm getting tired of this, man. I want to hang it up and just start living my life on my terms. But they've come to realize every dollar that they have coming to them in retirement is taxable. And they have no idea what the tax brackets are going to be, which one they'll be in, what the tax rates will be. or what inflation is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. Things can change quick. I mean, 5 years ago, you could feed your family at McDonald's, a family of 4, for maybe $25. Now it's like 60. Like, if you've ever tried it, it's like it's ridiculous.
Well, Dave, you got 27 kids. I could only imagine. Like, I go to some of these restaurants and just, let's just grab something real quick.
Yeah. No, I get the
$30-$40 even at a fast food joint like Chick-fil-A.
I said, give me the biggest nugget count you can give me. And each kid gets like 3 nuggets. Hey, that's your dinner. Suck it up.
He who eats the fastest eats the most.
Yeah. Let's just say there's probably only going to be one fat kid in this entire house, and that's whoever eats the fastest. So you focus a lot on that retirement aspect, which is great, because that's key. And that's what everybody's conditioned. That's what they're planning for. And that's a very important piece of your overall financial plan and strategy. But another thing that we love about IBC is that you get to use it now, even while you're building your retirement over the next 20, 30, 40 years. You get the benefit from the money you're putting away, the capital you're storing in your whole life policy today. And that's a pretty awesome thing, because a lot of pilots like to spend money. And when they understand that new boat and that new truck they just bought, they spent $80,000 on the truck and then financed the boat. Well, they just realized, hey, they can't earn any interest on that $80,000 for the rest of their life, because they just paid cash for that new Denali. And then they realize, oh, I could have put it here first, borrowed against it, and kept earning on it at the same time. It blows their mind, and they're like, I can't put enough in there.
And that's the problem. It's a lack of education. People don't understand. And they don't understand that, an asset can be working for them in multiple different places. And I think there's a stigma with insurance. As soon as we start talking about insurance, it's like, oh, where's the insurance salesman? Right. No, this is stuff that the Rockefellers did to pass generational wealth. And, and I think we need people like you guys out there trying to teach a different philosophy, teach a different way. Because unfortunately, we don't educate our children on finance or retirement or insurance or all these things that are probably the most important thing in your life. Okay. But we don't, and our education systems don't do that. And even if you were all in on the IBC as a pilot, the company's still putting, depending on where you fly, 17, 18% of anything you make inside your 401k plan. So I don't care if you don't make any contributions at all. You need to be focusing and getting your ducks in a row and not waiting until you're 62. Right. And that's why IBC is so great, not only on the tax side, but the flexibility of it. I talk to my clients all the time about liquid security. I go, where's your liquid security? Stuff that's not tied up in a retirement plan. Something just happened and you need $70,000. Where are you going to get it from? And I get a deer in the headlight look a lot. Okay.
Right.
So there's a lot to be said for forcing some discipline and doing some things to protect your family.
Hey, real quick break from the podcast. We want to talk to you about the Retirement Toolkit. If you have not gotten your copy yet of the toolkit, listen up closely, because Ryan is going to give us the details of what's in the toolkit. You even have one on hand, Ryan, that we can show people, and some of the things that are inside of it, and what kind of information can people learn?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to retirepilots.com, you can get a free retirement toolkit, and we'll actually give you a free analysis of your portfolio so you can really see what's going on. But as you can see, we got some airmail here.
Nice.
That's what the toolkit looks like. Some of the things that are in there. There's a couple tax planning strategies with Zach Smith at Pilot Tax. We look at long-term records where we've got a 21-year track record of outperforming the S&P 500, GIPS certified. We can show you that. And of course, I write these with big crayons, big fat crayons for pilots. I mean, there's some Marines and Army aviators out there, but I got a couple books I've written that you're going to get to talk about retirement planning, how you should plan for your retirement, talking about taxes and tax planning,
Nice.
Some other goodies, advice matters, how to let an advisor help you out, some of the data behind how much more you will have in retirement if you hire a professional. What we try to do is to try to get pilots not to speculate and gamble with their money. And I want to give you all the tools you need to not do that. Look at the data. It's completely free. We're here to help you out.
Very cool. So this is a free toolkit that you're going to get. And I don't want to gloss over that fact that you mentioned at the beginning. It also comes with a free portfolio analysis that you'll do after people get the toolkit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have no interest in doing anything else and you just want the free materials, I'll put your name right here. We'll send it out to you. But yes, you do get a free portfolio analysis. I think most of the people, after they see the content that's in there and read the book, they want to talk to us. And we can analyze your portfolio, see if we can add any value. The numbers don't lie. I mean, we're going to find out if we can add value. And we'll get on a Zoom call with you. We'll go through it. We'll teach you. We'll show you the numbers. And I like to call that the IQ test. At some point, the numbers don't lie. And you look at it and go, hey, if we can help you out, and do something better, if there's a better way, well, let's help you implement that strategy.
Very good. So no obligation to work together, but you definitely get the free toolkit, great resource, information. And then if you want to take next steps for that portfolio analysis, you get that as well. So a lot of great freebies there, Ryan. We appreciate you offering those to folks in the first place. I know a lot of people throughout the existence of this show have ordered them over the years, but we still got a good chunk of folks that probably are new to the show or haven't gotten their copy of the retirement toolkit. So be sure to get yours. Again, the way to get it is to go to retirepilots.com. That's retirepilots.com. And right there on the homepage, you're going to see an opportunity to get that toolkit. We'll also link to it directly in the description of today's episode, so look for it there as well. That's your retirement toolkit here on the Pilot's Advisor. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, Dave and I stole this term, having an adequate amount of whole life insurance in force, gives you a license to spend those other assets because when you graduate at some point in the future, you don't have to leave your legacy as your 401k or an inherited IRA or something. You could spend all that down on the new boat, I'm a Ram guy, so a Ram Cummins or a Tesla, whatever. And then your whole life insurance is there to come in for, here's your estate, right? Here's your legacy. Here's, for all the grandkids and kids or whatever. So yeah, when you have adequate life insurance, you have a license to spend those other assets and enjoy them because you earned them.
Well, so many parents now feel responsible to pay for their kids' college education. I personally hate 529 plans. You get some tax benefits, but the problem is there's no flexibility. You realize, and I keep trying to push IBC for college savings because not only can you save money just like you were going to for college, borrow it tax free to pay when it all the way down the line. Two things are happening. Okay. Well, not only, once again, all those other things we talked about with the death benefit, protecting your family, but I'm a big proponent of, we were just talking about this the other day about opening up policies on your kids and how efficient that is over the life of their, as they age. Okay. Were we just looking at some numbers on an illustration the other day, Dave? It was crazy.
Yeah, we were looking at something and, 40 years into owning a policy, or having a policy on a child, say a juvenile, maybe they're 1 year old, 2 years old, 3, 10 or 15, 40 years later, when that child is now paying that premium themselves, oh my gosh, they're getting, a ridiculous 5 to 10 times. Wasn't it like,
it was the numbers that I remember. We were looking at it for my 15-year-old daughter, and I'd written a policy on her, and just to check it out and look at what it would have looked like when she was like 40. Yeah. And I want to say you immediately got is between 30 and 40% return on your money when you put it in. So like if you put in 20 grand a year, it made $67,000 or $68,000 in that 1 year. That's what the cash value turned into.
No, by that time, it would have been a lot more than that. I think you're actually underestimating it. It would have, it will eventually like 10x. It gets absolutely
way out there.
ridiculous.
It will. And the other thing to think about a juvenile illustration is that they're technically getting like juvenile smoker rates.
Well, so it's going to be even better when they turn 18. It's going to be
even better than that because you can get them reevaluated and say, hey, maybe they're super preferred or standard or whatever, but it'll be better than actually then illustrated.
Yeah.
It takes very little premium on a juvenile to create an enormous amount of tax-free future wealth for them.
And it's no different. I tell all my clients the biggest factor in anything is time. That time factor is what changes everything. And if you look at one of these policies, the time factor changes everything.
Yes.
It does. The longer you live, the better it gets. But hey, what if, God forbid, you don't live very long? And before your child goes off to college, you graduate from this earth, that death benefit's going to pay out and pay for their college.
And
right?
sadly, pilots don't have a very good track record. We tend to graduate a little earlier than most.
Well, especially FedEx, you guys flying on the backside of the clock. I think it was, terrible news just a month ago or so where you had something like 4 pilots
in 1 month. Yeah.
In 1 month,
Crazy.
just, gone. Yeah. It's,
didn't even make it to retirement. They didn't have to even get to retire. And, the first thing I think of is not only how horrible that is, but right away, was their family protected?
Yeah. Right. Is there going to be a GoFundMe page? If you want a GoFundMe page for your family, don't have life insurance. Do you want that to be the legacy you leave, is that your friends have to set up a GoFundMe to get your kids through high school and off to college? Like, that would be, what a terrible legacy to leave.
We've all seen it though, haven't we?
We have. Yeah.
Too many times.
Yeah. Sad. But no, here's what I love about working with you, Ryan, and what I highly respect about you as a financial advisor. You are willing to say, hey, take some of your portfolio, some of your money, and don't put it under my control. Put it under your own control over here into something that's guaranteed, because you're working with a mutual life insurance company that's been around for over 100 years and they've met all of their obligations year in, year out. Like, you need some assurance and some certainty in your life. The rest of it, I'm going to make that grow for you. But you need some certainty. And like you said, that liquid capital that you can access when bad things in life happen, when the unexpected happens. It's not
if,
yeah,
it's when.
It's
Absolutely.
when. Any pilot that's been flying for 20 years has, one of the biggest questions pilots ask me is, well, hey, the future's so uncertain, and this career, there's ups and downs. So what happens 5 years from now if I get furloughed and I can't make the premium payment? Well, the first thing I say is, well, the first thing you're going to think is, thank God I've got some liquid capital I can access while I'm furloughed to actually get through this time. Your second concern will be paying the premium. But guess what? There's a lot of different creative ways we can come up with to get that premium paid and keep the policy going. But your first and foremost concern is you'll have access to capital when you need it most.
The thing that bugs me the most, and you guys could probably attest to this, is the people that see the light. They're seeing the light at 58, 59, and they're scrambling because they see how much of a piece that plays in their future and how much they need it. But you get a guy that's 30, or gal that's 30, and you can't get them to see the light. When it's that 30, 32-year-old where there's some serious power. And I hate talking to the wide body captain that's got $3 million in his 401k, and I look and it's all tax deferred. And I go, Dave, you think that's your money, right? That's not your money. And oh, by the way, I don't know how much of it is yours.
Yeah, you won't know until you take it out. And guess what? There's 6 people who are probably going to get paid before you do when you take that withdrawal.
You're in a partnership with the United States government, and they're going to be one of your major beneficiaries.
Yeah. How do you
It's almost like it's all by design.
Well, what kills me is you get so many, and a lot of pilots are like this. It's not like you disdain the government, but you have a healthy distrust of the government. And if you had the choice, you would never partner with the government on anything to do with your money. And people will say that, and they're with conviction. And yet you look at what they're doing financially, and every single thing they're doing financially is partnering with the government.
It's about control. And even Roth money is good for us. They didn't give it to us because they like us. They gave it to us because they had to, because they need tax revenue now because it's so dysfunctional.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's not for us. They don't care about us.
Well, that's why there's a limit.
And you brought up a point, and I'll acknowledge this point. It makes no financial sense for me to have my clients and me pushing assets away from a portfolio that I can manage.
Right.
The reason why I do it is because I want what's in my client's best interest. Okay. And that is for them to get an IBC policy and have that flexibility and have that full picture. It's in their best interest. And I mean, and that's why we do it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you walk the talk.
That's it's rare, I think. So I think that's phenomenal.
And that's why I'm so lucky I get to be on the Wealth Warehouse.
Yeah.
We are picky.
We're very picky, man. We you get those emails all the time like, hey, we think this person would be a great guest for you. And like delete.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're very picky about who we have on and only have people on. We have another guest that we're going to be bringing on, but
I just wanted to give a shout out because you guys know that my wife Carrie is an avid listener. She listens to you guys.
Yeah.
At I think it was like 1.7 or 1.8. So you guys are talking really fast, like mice or something like that. But she got the shout out on the show the other week.
Yeah, we did. That's right.
Yeah. So if you ever meet us in person, we talk a lot slower because most people do listen on 1.25 or 1.5 or whatever. But yeah, 1.7, that's really fast. I don't know.
You must sound like the chipmunks or something at that.
That's what I was looking for. The chipmunks.
Women's brains can just absorb information quicker, I think. I can't listen to anything that fast and retain anything, that's for sure.
Yeah. They have a lot more bandwidth than we do in some cases, like being able to multitask a little bit better.
Yeah. Somehow, even though I still think it's a myth, but they are better than me at it. I can't, this is why I don't have too many conversations while I'm driving because I just can't do it.
Yeah, but they can't just sit down and watch television.
Yeah, you're right. You got to be folding laundry. Like my wife is always doing something. I'm like, babe, just relax.
I told you guys this and it still holds true. You can be right or you can be married. Can't do both.
Yeah. Good advice. Well, hey, I think that's good, man. I think we covered a lot of ground there, and this will be great for really anybody listening. But again, pilots, if you're a pilot, a mainline pilot, and you didn't know that your 401k doesn't have to be managed by whatever the company, tells you or, puts whoever the company is giving money to, you can reach out, talk to Ryan, the pilot's advisor, and, have a meeting with him and see what it looks like to have him manage the 401k that the company's paying for you, put money in there for you anyway. But Ryan, how can people find you?
The best thing to do is go to my website, retirepilots.com. And I think you guys are going to add it in the show notes. Order my free retirement toolkit. I'll send you a couple books. I'll send you some tax stuff. I'll send you some stuff on IBC. And I think we should talk about that. The website that's been built out that has some videos and some educational material. IBCforpilots.com. And that's what it is, right?
Right. The 4 is the number 4 to make it easy for pilots. Cause we're talking to pilots. So IBC, the number 4, IBCforpilots.com.
Start thinking about those big fat crayons. We try to make it simple.
Yeah.
Especially for our Marine listeners out there. Always bust the chops of the Marines out there. I'll talk slower if you need me to.
Hey, we're trying to, finish a case on a Marine pilot. So be nice.
Yeah. I think I know who that is.
Yeah.
IBC for Pilots, I think, does a really good job of, there's a couple different videos in there and stuff. And I think it does a very good job of breaking it down and educating our listeners. And I think that once you listen and see that, you'll probably want to set up a meeting.
Yeah. And I can contest, I ordered your toolkit myself just to see, who is this guy and what is this all about? And yeah, I liked it. I had got 2 books and a lot of other good information that, about stuff I didn't know about because I'm not in that world. But yeah, if you're a pilot, you fly for mainline pilots, right? Or somebody maybe going to the mainline here soon.
Yeah, most of the people I deal with are on, the main legacy carriers, but I try to help whoever I can if it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. But some of those other like regional carriers don't allow you to, you can't manage those 401ks, right?
Some of them you can't. It really just depends on who you fly for and what the plan is, but that's something we can research and find out.
Okay.
And even if you are at a regional airline, well, what do most of them want to do? They're trying to graduate to a legacy carrier. So,
yeah. So yeah, get that in place before it's too easy just to put it on autopilot and forget about it and concentrate on doing what you do best, which is fly planes. But don't wait until you're 55, 60 years old to revisit that 401k, that portfolio, and your whole plan. Like, there's a case for financial advisors in your life, and you need somebody who can look at that holistic picture, and Ryan can do that for you.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, good to see you, and keep those lake pictures coming on Facebook. I like to, makes me think about my future shortly.
Well, I rarely post on Facebook, but there's been a couple nights here recently where the view of the lake and the sunset were just too good.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, awesome, man. And enjoy that. I hope to come out and visit you in South Carolina and bring my wife and hit the lake, because I live near a lake, just not on it. So it'd be nice to go jump on that boat and use somebody else's boat. I don't want to be a boat owner. I just want to be friends with people who own boats.
That's a smart way to be. Smart way to be. You almost make me want to say something inappropriate.
Yeah. I think I know. I'm reading your mind, man. Well, all right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us. And hey, until next week, everybody, control your capital.
Or somebody else will.